Welcome to the Potter Discussion.
Hello my friends, welcome back to the Potter Discussion, discussing Harry Potter, Fantastic Beasts, and the Wizarding World fandom. I am your host Oscar, and this is episode 124, QuizMaster Dumbledore Edition. We haven't done a QuizMaster in so long, so I'm so happy to be back with one of these. I actually don't know when the last QuizMaster was, but with so many things, so many updates, so many exciting things happening in the fandom right now, I just could not get to a QuizMaster. But now, leading up into Fantastic Beasts, The Secrets of Dumbledore, I thought, in honor of that, we should do a QuizMaster Dumbledore Edition. So this is going to be a great episode. I mean, there's really nothing else I gotta say, except about the Instagram. Guys. Last episode, I was saying that, oh, yes, we have 4,500 followers. We doubled that in a week. So now, as I'm recording this, the Instagram account has over 9,000 followers. It is over 9,000, and 10,000 is in the sights. So I am just going to be so happy when we finally cross that 10,000 mark. And if you really want to be part of the first core group of fans of the Potter Discussion, make sure you follow the Instagram at the Potter Discussion. You got great memes, you got amazing updates, you got clips from the episodes, you got all that good stuff over on the Instagram, so make sure you go check that out at the Potter Discussion. No clinic this week, it is next week. But next week, I hope that I can lock in my predictions for Fantastic Beasts. That is next week's episode. So a lot of good stuff in the works, and I hope you are all excited for the release of the movie. But today we have got a QuizMaster, so we should just get straight into that. Let's get into the episode. Let's kick it straight off with the speed round. I've got 3 questions that I'll be asking you rapid fire. You don't have to answer them right when I'm saying them, but if you can, that is bonus points. At the end of my asking, I will reveal the answers to see if you got them right. This is just a warm-up. They are pretty easy. There is a difficult one in here. But it's just to get your brain juices flowing, to get you warmed up for the episode, and really get you prepared for the questions to come. So here is the speed round. I'll not pause. I'll ask you all the questions, and then we'll get into it straight from there. So, speed round. Number 1, what is Dumbledore's full name? Number 2, where did Dumbledore grow up? And number 3, what wand did Dumbledore use? So, you likely are going to get all these right, but let's list off the answers just in case. His full name, of course, Albus, Percival, Wulfric, Brian, Dumbledore, so many names, I don't know why he need that many. Where he grew up, Godric's Hollow, same town as Harry. And number 3, what wand did he have? Of course, the Elder Wands. He did have a different one before 1945 when he fought Grindelwald, but that wand really is never talked about. It's not an important part of the story, so going off of the Elder Wand here. You likely got all those right. If you didn't, well then you got a challenge ahead, but if you did, we are prepared for the regular round, and we are not stopping. We're getting straight into it with number 1. How old was Dumbledore when he died? So we're starting out with a bit more of a difficult one, because I think you can handle it. With this one, I think the key is not any math, but it's very difficult to kind of get them, because he died in the 6th book, and there's really no correlation between his age, when he died, when he went to Hogwarts, all that kind of stuff. We can't really figure this out. So there's really no math you can just figure it out by. But lucky for you, you have me. If you know the answer to this question, then you'll get it right. But if you don't, then I'm sorry. But the answer is around 115. That is pretty old for one person. Now, you may have said somewhere around 150. If you're wondering where that number was floating around, it was the author that said he was around 150 when he died, but it was later revealed on Pottermore, Potter No More, I guess you call it, on the fandom website, that he was around 115. Not exact, but around 115 is just about when he was killed. So that is question number 1. We've got 10 more to go, so let's keep on moving. Question number 12. What is Dumbledore's Patronus? This one, I think, is like I've been saying for all these QuizMasters one, this is a question that you either get in a second or you never get, because the animal that will either pop into your mind in an instant or it will never come, because a Patronus is really, the purest form of you, really what you see as the strength, as a protector, who you put out there as a way to defend yourself. And it's different for many people. Dumbledore puts out one, maybe Harry casts a stag, Hermione an otter, Ron a dog, Ginny a horse. There's so many different, of course, a lot of animals. So there are a ton of those. But I will give you a hint. Dumbledore's Patronus is one of the rarest. There are 3 that are very rare Patronuses to have, that I will tell you after we get the answer to this question. But I think Dumbledore's Patronus is really the creature that we see him with, and we think of him, as kind of being around. So if you really haven't gotten it, I've been dropping so many hints. If you haven't already gotten it, I mean, come on. So we might as well just reveal the answer already, but the answer to the question is a Phoenix. A Phoenix is Dumbledore's Patronus. And like I said before, that is one of the rarest. A dragon, a thestral, and a phoenix are the 3 most rare Patronuses a person can have. And I think I don't have one of those Patronuses. My Patronus is a black swan. I do not have a dragon, a thestral, or a phoenix. But Dumbledore has a phoenix Patronus. And if you, thought of that, it's kind of obvious. But if you didn't, you're now just like, oh, that's just like a collective realization. And I think Dumbledore's is really centered around a phoenix. That's really kind of how we see him. His symbol is fox. I mean, his kind of farewell song after Harry's deciding to leave Hogwarts is called The Fox's Lament, or like the Phoenix Lament, something like that, after Dumbledore dies. And we all know Fox is Dumbledore's phoenix. He stays in his office, and that's really what he does. He uses Fox to escape in the 5th book. He sends Fox to Harry in the Chamber of Secrets. There's really so much to do with phoenixes, like in relation to Dumbledore, that I think it makes so much sense that it would be his Patronus, that a phoenix would be Dumbledore's Patronus, because it really makes a lot of sense when you really think about just how many phoenix things there are in Dumbledore's life. But let's move right along into question number 3. This one is more of a, if you listen to the whole episode, I'm testing you for your honesty. Number 3, what is the quote of Dumbledore's that I say at the very end of the show? This one you gotta listen all the way to the end. I mean, you can skip all the way to the episode. I get it. But if you've heard the end of the episode, as I know some of you have, you will know this quote. It's a very famous Dumbledore quote. Obviously, Dumbledore QuizMaster. And I mean, it is a good one. That's why I picked it. So, this quote, I think, is said in The Prisoner of Azkaban. And I remember, I'll give you a hint. The scene is when Dumbledore's giving a speech, talking about the year at Hogwarts. And the whole trick is he waves his hand and a candle goes out. But then he waves his hand again and it goes back. The flame reappears. So if you can kind of visualize that scene and kind of play it back in your head, press play on your TV, in your mental TV, you just might be able to pick the answer out of your head. And if you haven't, if you just know the answer, well, there you go. So the answer to the question is, happiness can be found even in the darkest of times if one only remembers to turn on the light. This episode's not over. Don't worry. This is still, we're still going with that as the quote of Dumbledore that I love so much. Of course, there are so many. I can't think of another one. Another one of my favorites is, you must always make the choice between what is right and what is easy. That one I also find that really relatable, something that you really encounter. And, oh my gosh, I saw this one just the other day. I know it. Another one that was about, it is not like the action, like it's something that like something doesn't make a person. It's like it's not their words, it's their actions, or like it's something like that. Another good one, but there are just so many Dumbledore quotes. And if you look, if you type into Google, or like Dumbledore quotes, it comes up. I mean, that's like one of the first ones. There's just so many that are like amazing. I mean, Dumbledore's really the quote character. In every good book, you have to have a quote character. I mean, like, there's really a person that has to be, the old wizened old person who just, has a cane or has like an old timey, kind of sits in the shadows and helps, kind of a mentor who gives great wisdom, pieces of advice, quotes. You have to have one of those great people in a good series. Dumbledore's in one for this one. Another one that came to mind was Gandalf, of course. Yoda in Star Wars. I mean, you really gotta have a good advice person, because without it, I mean, how could the character be confused? How could the plot line move forward, really? Without some good confusing old man jargon, you gotta have some good stuff in there. So Dumbledore is a character for that in Harry Potter series, and it really works out because then we can have quiz questions like this that are asking about his quotes. So amazing, great for his quotes, great for his spells, and that is the end of this rant. Okay, moving right along to question number 4. This is a difficult one. What flavor jelly bean did he eat in book 1? So this is referring to when... Actually, I'm not going to give you context. This is going to be your little mini challenge question. But the only thing I will clarify is it was a Bertie Bott's every flavored bean box that he ate from, and he received a very interesting flavor. That is the question. I will not give you anything else, because I know if you are a true Harry Potter fan, if you understand everything about it, you will know this question, and you have to think in your brain to think of the answer. This question, I think, is one of those that's like passing by. You could hear it and then never think of it again, just kind of flitting, whatever. And it's these kinds of questions that I love, because you have to really pay attention to what you're hearing, like really understand kind of what the whole thing is about, what the whole quote is, which is something that I really love for this kind of thing. But this question, I think, relates to kind of Dumbledore as a character, because it's like the way he goes, oh, the flavor, so this kind of thing, I think, is really tracks with who Dumbledore is as a person, really relating to who he was as a child too. He says, I was unfortunate to come across another really bad flavor in his youth. So he does a very relatable, kind of like eat something, oh, laugh at me, He knows how to be relatable. He knows how to be likable. He knows how to be a person, how to sink down to a personable level to be with people like Harry. But this, I think, is the kind of thing that is a very, you can't look it up, because there's no answer that, is just like obviously there, but whatever. If you've read or watched the first book/movie recently, you probably know this, but because I think it's one of those things you can kind of hear. I mean, if I show you a picture and then I showed you kind of the line that goes with it, you can hear the line, like when, just think of that scene when Hermione says, when God, Leviosa, you can hear it. Stop. You're doing it all wrong. You're going to poke someone's eye out. So it's those kinds of things that are just so perfect. You just cannot unhear them. It's like that Laurel Yanny thing. Like that was like all the rage in the internet. Where you either heard one thing or another and you just couldn't unhear it. Like once you read it, you just couldn't unhear it. It's the kind of thing for this, like the with Guardian Leviosa, with the all those different scenes that are just so, you understand them so well. And this is one of those. This, what kind of jelly bean did Dumbledore eat in the first book? I think that is definitely one of those lines you can just hear when I say it. So when I do say it, you should be able to hear it. The flavor that Dumbledore ate was earwax. He says, oh, I think I'll be safe with a good toffee, pops in his mouth, chews for a bit, then goes, alas, earwax. You can hear it. I know you can. I know you can see that scene in your head. So that is the answer, earwax. And oh my gosh, if I ever came across an earwax flavored jelly bean, I would sue the jelly bean company for mental trauma for mentioning how they even made. How would you make an earwax? I'm not even gonna go there. Oh my gosh, they have like a liver flavor. All right, I'm gonna stop now. so many things make no sense in the Wizarding World, but then some things like this seem to make no sense and then just make a disgusting amount of sense. Like how, okay, I'm not even gonna go there, not at all. But there are some good ones I know that that were in there. I know like coffee, there was kind of like treacle tart. There were some other ones, pumpkin juice. It's really a gamble when you have a Birdie Bots every flavored bean. Of course, there's grass, which is kind of disgusting. But I don't know, I'm sure there's some kind of like actual Birdie Bot every flavored bean that you can buy. I'm sure there's like an online store somewhere. No, the official Wizarding World. Whatever, I'm sure there is something that you can buy. And I could swear I've eaten a Birdie Bots every flavored bean, and it was vomit flavored. And I hated it, and I never ate one again. So that's my life story. I hope you enjoyed it. But let's move on to the next question, which just so happens to be question number 5. What house was Dumbledore in? This is an easy one. The Great Dumbledore, of course, was in blank. The blank house. I think this one, oh my gosh, I was just trying to think of another scene where you could hear them saying it. And this actually relates to the question where Hermione says, I want to be in blank. They say Dumbledore himself was in it. That's another thing that you can hear, I can guarantee it. And I mean, I basically gave away the question. We might as well. Obviously, Dumbledore was in Gryffindor. I mean, all the good wizards, the good and evil, the evils are in Slytherin, and the good people are in Hufflepuff, Ravenclaw, and Gryffindor, with Gryffindors leading the charge as the leaders of the pack, the Lions. So you can kind of imagine how that's not great for the Slytherins, because, of course, we always think that all the Slytherins are evil. But Ron said, he is very wrong on this, but he says there wasn't, oh no, it wasn't Ron, it was Hagrid. Hagrid said, I'm getting confused. I think it was Hagrid, maybe it was Ron, but someone said, Hagrid/Ron said that there wasn't a wizard that didn't go bad who wasn't in Slytherin. Now, I don't think that's true, because I'm going to go on a mini tirade here, because I think the way the Wizarding World works, both sides were kind of struggling against the same idea of how pureblood wizards were really dying out, and there was no way that they could have survived if they didn't marry with muggles. That kept wizards going, and yes, they did have to marry muggles. That's not a bad thing at all. But of course, some people saw it as something that was like, blah, they're other, they're not us. We're scary, other people. So that's really where that fear came from. And then families, it's kind of the same thing, where some joined Voldemort, some helped the Ministry with Dumbledore, the Order of the Phoenix. It was really a sharp divide between, one or the other. I think the main way, the reason all Slytherins are considered bad, Slytherin's not an evil house, not at all. But it's them kind of being convinced that they are evil themselves, right? Someone hearing about how all Slytherins are bad. Just imagine. You're 11 years old, you're going to Hogwarts, you are so excited, you don't really know much about the world, and then you get sorted into Slytherin, you're so excited, you meet your new friends, and they're so nice to you, but then you see the other Gryffindors and Ravenclaws and Hufflepuffs giving you dirty looks. Another Slytherin added to the pile, they mutter behind their hands. You see the boy with the scar on his head look confused as he puts on the hat, and he thinks, not Slytherin, and he gets put in Gryffindor, and you think, why can't I be in Gryffindor? And they think Slytherin's bad, am I bad? Am I just that bad? And that feeling gets pushed down deeper and deeper as the years go on, and eventually they convince themselves that yes, they are that evil. They are the evil tyrant that they have convinced themselves to be, and the world has shown them as. That is kind of how I imagine it going. Slytherins are getting convinced that they are evil, not because they are, but just because they are shown that is the way, that is the Tao, that is the way. And I think that also plays into how Voldemort was in Slytherin, and then it was kind of, guilt by association. Oh, you're in Slytherin, so you also must be evil. Great. Problem solved. Easy on me. Because I'm not in Slytherin, obviously. And it was the people who weren't in Slytherin that decided they were evil, I think that's another part that's kind of like, we don't really talk about that. But it was just Voldemort and his Death Eaters that really gave Slytherin a bad name. And then after that, families tend to be in similar houses. Of course, there are people like Breakout, people like Sirius, who was in Gryffindor, even though his entire family was in Slytherin. They really make the difference. While people like the Weasleys, every single member of the Weasley family was in Gryffindor. Molly, Arthur, Bill, Charlie, Percy, all those people were in Gryffindor. And it's the same with people like the Malfoys. Narcissa, Lucius, and Draco were all in Slytherin. Also, Bellatrix. Bellatrix was also, it's pretty obvious, but Bellatrix was also in Slytherin. You're kind of seeing my point. The heir is kind of the person who has to take on the responsibility of being hated. Because, the time that we see the Harry Potter story in is still the time when the children of the initial group of Death Eaters are at Hogwarts. The original Death Eaters are, still not that great of people, and that we can pretty much assume. But there are those kinds of people in Gryffindor. There are those kinds of people in Ravenclaw, and there are those kinds of people in Hufflepuff. It was just that Tom Riddle didn't go into any of those houses. He was sorted into Slytherin. This is kind of like my master theory of why Slytherins are perceived to be evil. Voldemort was in Slytherin. Now, Slytherin was not a bad house by that point. It just became the bad house. But he attracted the likes of people who would become Death Eaters. And the Avery, Dolohov, there was, and everyone else. But there's all those kind of people were with him in Slytherin. Because he was in Slytherin. Because they were in Slytherin. Because they just so happened to meet and to be friends and then to go off together in the world. That's where it came from. And then when those people grow up, when those people have kids, remember when I said houses run with families, so the Death Eaters' children then went into Slytherin. And then it became this whole cycle of Slytherins are bad. And then, their children are the same, so their children are bad. And then the Slytherins went going, well, maybe we are, like trying to convince themselves that they are evil, not that they actually are. So that is my master theory. I should call it something, trademark it before anyone else steals it. But you heard it here first. That is why all Slytherins are perceived to be evil. Is this a QuizMaster episode? Yes. Okay, I am sorry for those who want to hear quiz questions. Okay, let's get out of this tirade. Question number 6. Who did Dumbledore make a blood pact with? This is another question that's just right off the top of the head. We all know he has a blood pact, and we all know it was destroyed? ? I don't know. That's the topic for next week's episode, because the blood pact is kind of the basis of all the trouble for Dumbledore, because Dumbledore cannot move against Grindelwald. This is a very shady area of magic, because we only know that it prevents two people from dueling. We don't know if that is physically acting against each other. And we even see that when in the trailers, in the new clips, that when Dumbledore was even thinking about moving against Grindelwald, the blood pact was like tightening around his hand and really hurting him. So there is so much just to be unpacked with the blood pact. I think there's no way to really tell exactly how it works. I think in next week's episode is going to be all about the blood pact and my final predictions, but I think the blood pact has something to do with, kind of like, it's more of a symbol than an actual talisman, and that's why the blood pact doesn't work. It's a whole, I'm not going to get into it, I'm going to get into it next episode, but there's just a whole kind of sphere of no one knows what it does. Like, how do you make a Horcrux? Well, you kill someone, I think, and with a blood pact, you cut your hand, I think. So, like, I think you see what I'm trying to say here. All we know is that Dumbledore can't move against Grindelwald, and Dumbledore also has a blood pact. He has stated that the blood pact is what stops him from doing so. That much we know. But in the trailers, we also see them dueling. Is that the future? Is that the past? Is that means the blood pact is broken? Is this the beginning of the end? I will not say that again, because I'm talking about the beginning of the end in the next episode, but But there's so much. I want to give a mini trailer, kind of just word vomit. But the answer to the question, who did Dumbledore make the blood pact with? I said the answer already. Grindelwald. He made the blood pact with Grindelwald as they were kids. They cut their hands and then acted. They were like, in the memory. That was kind of funny. The Mirror of Erised. For some reason, okay, I don't know why, but when Dumbledore looked in the Mirror of Erised in the Crimes of Grindelwald, he saw them making the blood pact. I don't know why he wants that. Is that a theory they're making? I'm gonna make the prediction that Dumbledore wants the blood pact to still be made because he doesn't want to fight Grindelwald, but he's gonna have to. It's gonna be a whole emotional stress situation. But that is the answer to the question. Grindelwald. Appears simple as that. Grindelwald is who Dumbledore made the blood pact with. And the final question of the day, number 7. What spell did Dumbledore say was activated when Harry and Voldemort dueled in Book 4? This is one of those questions, again, I gotta have at least one of them. At least 2. You get it or you don't. It's what the chapter is called. Dumbledore only says it a couple times, but it is continually kind of talked about, and that's the start of Harry's kind of confusion with Voldemort, because when they had their duel in the graveyard in the 4th book, that's what I'm talking about here, that was really the first time Harry dueled Voldemort. It's the first time he saw Voldemort in the flesh, really. Like, you know what I mean. Like, when he saw the Voldemort that he would fight, he saw Voldemort when he killed his parents, Black Pearl's head, whatever. But this book is really where he sees Voldemort fully in his own body. Harry can comprehend that it is Voldemort, and that's just really the first time that we understand that Harry understands that it is Voldemort. Now, this is the spell that is activated is kind of muddled down. The chapter is called The Spell, but it is what happens out of this spell that is what the whole story is focused on. And I think that's what makes the challenge, this question, a little difficult. If you think of this spell, but you think of what it does, not what it is, which I think is a difficult part of just in general what this question is asking. So if you can conjure the question in your mind, if you can Wingardium Leviosa from your great trash can of a brain, that came out wrong. What I meant was there is so much stuff in your brain, you have to get it out. I'm gonna stop talking now. But yes, that is the question, and might as well just say the answer. The answer is Priori Incantatem. So this spell is when the two twin cores are, put against each other. When they are pitted against each other, the whole golden sphere, they're lifted up off the hillside, the whole spell, then the spells of Voldemort's wand are kind of regurgitated in reverse order, and the ghosts come out. It's a whole complicated, Dumbledore should figure it out situation that I won't get into, but Priori Incantatem is the answer to this question. And just like that, we are at the very end of this episode. I had a good episode. Now I have to edit it. I haven't uploaded all that good stuff. Gotta get straight to it. But no, I did not forget the challenge question. So, this challenge question I will not give you the answer to. I will not give you context. I will not say anything. I will say the question, and I will give you the answer next week. So make sure you listen very closely. Ahem. The challenge question is, when did Dumbledore start at Hogwarts? Folks, I did not say it would be easy, and it is not. I need a year. I need a season. If you can muster it. I just need all that good stuff for this challenge question to be valid. And send me your answers. I would love to hear what you have to say. I will definitely be taking into account that you answer the question, and maybe reading your name out from the show. I don't know. So you can do that on Instagram at ThePotterDiscussion. DM. Just go straight ahead. Tell me your answer. I'll understand. No context needed. You can also send me an email. My email is ThePotterDiscussion@gmail.com. That is ThePotterDiscussion@gmail.com. Like I said in the beginning of this episode, no Quill and Ink this week, but next week there will be one. If you want to sign up to Quill and Ink, the link will be in the show notes, and when you sign up, you get the ultimate guide to a perfect Harry Potter marathon, and in addition to that free PDF, you also get twice monthly emails talking about all your favorite topics of Harry Potter. We're going to be predicting Fantastic Beasts, our final. I put an episode, an edition of the Quill and Ink out about that a couple weeks ago. That is going to be the topic of in 2 weeks' time, when the next edition of the Quill and Ink will come out, because gotta get in my predictions before the movie comes out, just so you can understand that I am trying to predict everything that's happening in the movie. I'm not really, but whatever's happening, I encourage you to subscribe to this podcast. It's called Following Apple Podcasts now, so follow this podcast and Apple Podcast. You can also send a review on Spotify now, which is pretty cool. So make sure you review the show on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. 5 stars would be greatly appreciated, and you can even recommend things that you want me to talk about on the show. I'm open to anything you have. But that is it for this episode. Thank you for listening. As always, now's the end of the episode. Happiness can be found even in the darkest of time if one only remembers to turn on the light. I will see you later.
This was the Potter Discussion.